And we are live. Welcome to Pistons Jack Fan Reacts. Today, we are going to chat through a pretty brutal loss in the Pistons' final NBA Cup game of the group stage and overall. But before we do, as always, this show is for the fans. I currently don't have any guests lined up. So if you want to join me, perhaps get some frustrations off your chest, just want to talk about Pistons basketball overall season so far, please shoot me a DM now on Instagram or Twitter. If you don't have either of those, you can also drop your email in the comments in the chat here, and I will send you a link and you just need to push the link and you can join. As long as you have a phone or laptop or tablet, we are good to go. But until then, I'm just going to chat through this game, some of my thoughts, and probably just kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about the Pistons season overall and this NBA Cup experience because the Pistons lost tonight to the Bucks 107 to 128 in a game that I think felt over early in the second quarter. The Bucks were on fire from deep early. I think at one stage the Bucks had scored like 72 points in the second quarter, and only 12 of those points had come in the paint. Like I can't remember exactly what they shot in the first half from three, but they finished the game, I believe, shooting 57% from three, 23 of 41 overall. But in the first half, I think that was something like 14 of 20, something like that. But they did get hot. They made shots, but there was a lot of times where Pistons players missed coverages, didn't switch when they were meant to, which led to some open threes. It was just as much hot shooting as it was Pistons perimeter defense, frankly, just giving up open threes. JB Bickerstaff just said in his press conference, and far too many open catch and shoot looks. And, you know, like zooming out a little bit, this is now the Pistons' third kind of blowout loss in 4 games. Obviously, tonight they lose by 15, but it was really, honestly, it hovered around 25 for much of the night. They got absolutely blown out by Philly a couple of days ago, and then they had that brutal Memphis loss probably 4 or 5 days ago now. So, sandwich in there was a really impressive win against the Pacers in Indiana, but yes, there's concerns with this defense because for probably, what are we now, 24 games into the season, for probably the first 15 games, this team was, I think they got as high as sixth at one point in defensive rating, and they kind of hovered around 10 to 11. Not sure where they're at now, but the past 4 or 5 games, they would have to be down towards the bottom of the league because I know they haven't had Cade in 2 of these past 4, but still, like Cade's defense this season has been like a positive for this team, but I think the Pistons' lack of size and just lack of size on the perimeter from their main rotation guys is really showing up because you see when Asar's out there, he's still on a minutes restriction, but when he's out there, you know, it's a lot different having Asar on these bigger wings as it is to having Tim Hardaway Jr. or Malik Beasley. So, yeah, there was just like honestly, in terms of positives, I don't want to be too negative right now. We'll get to them, but I thought Jalen Duren's first 6 minutes were exceptional, the best stretch of his season. He had like 9 points. His energy was right up, but he got into foul trouble. Stu got into foul trouble. The officials, they didn't decide the game, but they were brutal tonight. And I'm just going to say this. I was close to tweeting it, but I didn't want to come across as a sore loser. But since this will only be Pistons fans watching this, like, I just don't like watching Giannis play basketball. I respect his game. It's, his developmental story from where he was when he was drafted to what he has become is incredible. Like, it's, the two-way ability he has is incredible. But I genuinely do not like watching him play basketball. It doesn't interest me at all. It's just the refs, I think, have a hard time officiating him, but at the same time, some of them are just horrible. And like, I honestly, the way this game went, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the officials, but I think I have to say it, because I know a lot of fans are frustrated. I certainly was. And it was the same deal in Milwaukee a few weeks ago. Like, you know, Giannis is an incredible player, but I really don't enjoy watching him. So just need to get that off my chest. But uh, just going to quickly go through some comments here because I'm actually surprised how many of you have turned up. So I appreciate all of you so much. White guy next door, I'm so disappointed. I agree. I was the Philly game. I was disappointed in that, but I think after like a day or a night to sleep on it, the travel and the lack of rest the Pistons that had before that Philly game without Cade, I kind of was like, okay, that's like the Knicks game. It's like the Memphis game. We just hope they come back in 2 days' time and perform. And yeah, that's the thing that disappoints me the most is you had 2 days rest, you got Cade back, you don't have any injuries. Like that, obviously Bobby Clintman's out, but he hasn't played for the Pistons yet since summer league. So I'm kind of not including him. You're fully healthy. There was just like deep down, I was probably going to be surprised if the Pistons won because the Bucks have won now 7 in a row. They didn't have Dame last time. They're a different team, but I thought in front of a pretty full LCA, the crowd didn't get a chance tonight to get into the game, but I thought this team would bring it and at least keep it close. But to see this game go the way it did and the Pistons never really adjust to the three-point shooting of the Bucks, and to see some of the turnovers from Cade, to see them miss free throws, just like a whole team effort in terms of the loss. But I really, it's one of those games where I love these streams because I love chatting to you guys. But in terms of talking about the game, it's one of those times where you're just like, I don't even know what to say apart from just being disappointed. So I agree with you. And I appreciate the love. It means a lot. Kyle, yeah, that's a great summary. Kyle, I'm here if you want to chat. Yeah, we'll get you up. If you want to, I'll drop you a link now. We'll get you up. I'd love some company up here, so I'll drop you a link right now. Just bear with me. Where is Kyle? Oh, he DM me. All right, we've just dropped Kyle a link, so Kyle will be up here soon. Nuggies, if they shot average, it'd probably win the game. I probably disagree, but it obviously would have been a lot closer. Like they were on like one of those nights where they just can't miss. Like Dame immediately, I think, hit like 2 pull-up mid-ranges. He hit a 3 and the net literally didn't move. So it felt like he was in a groove. They obviously didn't need him to play one of those crazy games, but they did feel locked in. But even if the Bucks, I assume you're talking about the Bucks here, because the Pistons actually shot okay. So, yeah, tough night. I'm going to bring up my man Kyle now. Thanks for jumping on, man.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
I appreciate you. You jumped on after the
let you roll alone.
Thoughts, feelings?
Well, first I blame you because you said every time I join we win, and then here we are.
Oh man, brutal night, hey.
I mean, honestly, I turned the game off in the third quarter, so
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I agree. Duran's first couple minutes looked amazing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, honestly, here's my takeaway. I think I tweeted this out or put it on Blue Sky. I forget where I wrote this, but I think they were trying to do too much. Like I saw a lot of over rotating, and I couldn't tell if that was just because they were just bad communication, and so they were scrambling, but it kind of almost had the air of like guys are pressing too much. Cade's trying to do too much instead of staying. Like he's a classic ball watch kind of help defender. Always wants to have his hand in the mix, but like it puts him in bad position because then his man is wide open. He can't close out quick. So things like that I saw happening a decent amount. Where just like they were pressing too many. Like there was a couple times where they like the one more pass, like you didn't need to take that, like you forced it because you were trying to do too much. Like I saw
maybe.
Yeah,
That's a great point you raised because I did kind of expect in that first quarter. One of my just concerns was just the moment getting to them a little bit. And I know it's not a playoff game, but it's obviously there's a lot of hype behind this game. And I'm all for it because we want to see them playing meaningful games. There's a lot of hype, and that's why I was kind of a little bit confident because the Bucks, I think, early got at 12-4. Then the Pistons had a really good stretch behind Durant, and they get back into it. I'm like, okay, they've got the jitters out now. But then from that moment, it was like it just went all downhill. So I agree. I think it's a great point. It felt like the moment got to them, and they were just trying to do too much, and it just snowballed into a bit of a disastrous game.
Right. Well, I think that's why, and I know if you want to throw that comment from White Guy Next Door about seeming lackadaisical, I think that's where I'm not sure. Like, that's what I'm saying. I don't know for sure if it was lackadaisical. If anything, I thought they were too not focused, but you know what I mean? Like it wasn't because they were being too relaxed or too lazy or too careless. It was we're pressing. And so we're not trusting the system. We're trying, it's a great football analogy. Like when guys try to do someone else's job because they don't trust the guy next to them, you get out of position, and that's where gaps happen. I think there was things like that I saw tonight where guys were trying to help when they didn't need to, especially Cade. And it's like, if you just trust the system, things like that, they don't shoot 70% from three because they got a bunch of wide open because y'all were scrambling to nowhere because everyone was trying to cover for each other. I saw that happen a lot. At least, I'm not a film guy. I'm not the peak Pistons Twitter basketball analyst, but that I almost wondered if that's what was going on. And I mean, Cade came out and said after the game, this was the most important basketball game I've played in my career, in my NBA career. So if he's saying that, that's the whole team, right? He's saying we viewed this as the most important game we've ever played in our career for these young guys. So they were taking it super seriously, and it's a learning moment. And I think that has a benefit moving forward. I'm bummed. I called it back in July that they were going to win the group. It was so close.
So close.
So close.
Yeah.
But I do think that was real, and the moment got to them, and now they're going to learn from it. Hopefully they'll learn from it. When I DM Jack, I said, I'm going to come on here and start slashing. Who can we get rid of the team? So I'm still on my trying to be optimistic and positive.
I appreciate this. We need this. And this is what you brought last time after the Memphis game. So I know people appreciate this angle, even though it is a bit doom and gloom.
Okay, now we're going to switch. Trade everybody.
No, I'll be honest. I kind of just said I would have been surprised if they won tonight, but I did not expect this. I thought they were going to be more prepared for the moment, and maybe it is just a case of the lights were too bright, and this young team hasn't played in many. Well, like Cade said in his own words, biggest game they've ever played in at the NBA level. So you just that's the optimistic view. And I'm with you on that because I don't want to go too far into the negatives, but you just hope they can take a learning from this as opposed to it maybe bringing back some demons from last year. And I guess the season before, that would be the concern.
Yeah. And I hold that concern. That's also why I'm more tempted to say, okay, let's just start blowing things up. Right. We're 20 games in. We've seen some things I don't, whatever it is. I don't know that's going to happen. In season trades like that are really hard to pull off, and you usually don't get value that, all that other stuff aside, we don't need to go down the hole yet, but
we'll get there. Don't you worry.
But yeah, I think that is the disappointment. And I think you just have to wonder how much losing this team has done. Can you ever really recover from that in a meaningful way with the number of guys that they have? I think there's a few guys that can come out the other side, but there at some point you got to clean house and you got to get, and I think JB's building a good culture But you got to have, and they have guys like Beasley. They've brought some vets in that can carry that culture. Now you just got to hope that it sticks, or ship the guys out that don't work. And unfortunately, you have to kind of start over.
Well, we'll get to that in a moment because it's definitely worth. I think that's more interesting to talk about than just be negative about this game and the upcoming ones. But just on this game itself, like I must admit, I think like we kind of. I was pretty. I would like to think Cade missed the Philly game because he genuinely couldn't go, and it sounded like it was a last minute thing. But I think you really just want more from him tonight. Like, and I think it's not pinning the whole loss on him, but he's the guy. Like we saw the impact he had against the Pacers, who, they're nowhere near the Bucks level this season. But I think Austin makes a good point here, and this was towards the end of the second half. Actually, this comment first makes more sense. So Austin says that 14-point run after it was 61-51 did it. And around that time, that's when Cade had like 3 or 4 turnovers in a row. That was another huge turning point. And that's part of Cade's growth. And I think in year 4 or year 3, you really just, in games that matter, you can't have that. You just can't.
And they come in bunches. And that's what's weird. And that's where, again, I think he's pressing. And I know people will like, let's just get him a secondary ball handler. Maybe that will help him, or like people that he can trust. But it's like him dribbling into a corner where there's 3 guys over there has nothing to do with whether or not there's another ball handler. Pass the ball. Reset. It's not hard. Like, I just don't understand. Like I don't know if he is just overconfident in his handle, but like his handle is too loose. Like he just gets bumped off his line, even being strong. He loses it off his foot. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm not an expert, but like, man, it just seems like he does the same stuff over and over again. And it seems so avoidable.
Well, I think like for at least tonight, I think back to your first point about not trusting the system. And I think that is an extension of not trusting your teammates and trying to take over when you might not have it. And it's like, 1 turnover, okay, but like there was literally 3 within a couple of minutes span there, and they're backbreaking because especially I feel like there's something extra to it when it's your best player who you're relying on to at least get your good shot that possession, and they have those kind of turnovers. It really sucks the life out of the team.
It's becoming the Jaylen Brown discourse. Like he can't dribble, except for Jaylen Brown was never the point guard.
Yeah.
And so you kind of just hide him, right? But I don't think Cade has that same, like Cade, if he's not the point guard, his advantage goes away. Like he's just an okay 3, right? Like he's an undersized 3. And I think that's where I think he's a point guard. I think that's what he is. I think that's his best position. But he's a point guard that has a loose handle and has a tendency, like he is a really good passer, but he's always going to have 3 to 4 turnovers a game. Even at his best. Like, I'm cool with that. As long as they're because he's being aggressive and because he's trying to make a play within the flow of the offense, not because he dribbled off his foot or not because he got stripped simply because he was being lackadaisical bringing the ball up. Like, and that happens so often. The careless ones and the chemistry ones have to get cut out at this point. Like, and if it doesn't, it limits his ceiling. It really does, and it limits the team's ceiling. Yeah, and I think the part is because he is your best player. What do you do?
Yeah, because you kind of look to him. It's like if someone else has a turnover, you'd be like, all right, just give it to your best player the next couple of plays down. Like if it was Jaden Ivey, like you'd be like, just give it to Cade for the next 3 possessions. But when it's Cade, it just hits different. And I think the team's confidence kind of goes a little bit when he has those ones in bunches in particular.
Let's not get crazy with the Evan Mobley talk. Mobley's not exactly a world beater either. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of the comments.
You're good.
But
you're good. Well, let's bring it up because shout out to Derek, always joining. Love Cade.
Love you, Derek. Not to be a jerk. Sorry.
Should we have drafted Evan Mobley? You kind of answered it, but any other thoughts?
I think it's really easy to go back and revisionist history of the thing, and I don't think. I mean, Evan Mobley's good. Don't get me wrong, but the Cavs clearly don't trust him to play the 5. right? Or they would have moved on from Jared Allen. They could have gotten a bunch of stuff and like reloaded and built around him. They're not building around Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley's a piece right now.
Yeah.
They don't need him to be the guy, so that's nice, right? But if he was the guy, they would be building around him, and they're not, right? So Cade is, in theory, still a guy you can build around. He is a great leader. He is a connector. Like, for all the intangibles, like, I love him. And, he's still effectively in his third year of actual full-time play. So there's a long time. Guards take longer to develop in some ways like that too.
Yeah.
So, I still think Cade is at least the best player, tied for the best player in that class. I don't think it was the wrong pick. Just everything else they've done around him has not helped.
I think you summed it up really well then. And I think it's Mobley I think he's an excellent player. Like even Scotty Barnes the other night in that Toronto game, I was like, wow, I haven't watched much for Raptors, but he's improved a ton. But I still just think with where the Pistons were at the time, you literally had no face of your franchise that draft. And I mean, it should purely mainly be on the on-court talent, but there's a factor to this where Cade is a leader. He actually is a cornerstone player that you can build around, build like he just brings something to the culture. And I know like they haven't won many games, but there was something about him that, and I think he's just the most talented player, as well. Throw it all in there. But yeah, I think Mobley's he went into like a perfect situation with Cleveland. Like he had Darius Garland there a season and a half later or whatever. They got Donovan Mitchell. Like he's just been able to go in there. He hasn't even been overextended and asked. Like Jarrett Allen's been injured, but he's been able to just be the third or fourth guy there. And he's having a better season this year, I think. At least he was in his first 10 games. But I kind of think the Pistons, if it's Houston, yeah, we have a conversation. But I think the Pistons, it was the right pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
if I could redo it now, like, what do you mean redo it? Knowing what I know about the players or knowing who the roster is, like everything else is the same. Like that's, that's a lot of different variables.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any one of those other guys would have been half the player they are if they came to the Pistons.
Yeah.
The Pistons just have not shown an ability to develop or to support the guys around them for a very long time. Partly because the last 30 years, they haven't drafted worth a darn either.
Wasn't Stu like the first player they've extended since Andre Drummond?
Yeah, and Andre, they kind of just had to. Yeah.
Yeah, Drummond they had, and it's like, I don't even know who it was before that.
Exactly.
We're
literally talking 30 years of bad draft picks, minus like Tayshaun Prince. Yeah. Right before Troy gets here. And even, so like that's where the thing is, like, I don't know. Like I can't say I would want to do anything different. Like that's who I wanted them to draft. And I think I stick by that. Again, I'm not a big draft scout or anything. I just think, to your point, like he has the potential still to be the leader, the best player, not the best scorer. I don't think the best version of a Cade championship contending team is him being the lead scorer.
Yeah.
I have never thought that. I think he is your point guard who can get you 25 a night if he needs to, or 22 a night, whatever, 24. Is the main character guy, the leader in the locker room, that gets everyone involved, can take over when he needs to, but you have an assassin scorer next to him that is like an Ivy type. If Ivy can actually get to a level where he's a 25, 26, 27 a night scorer, like that's a great archetype next to him, especially if he can take up the defensive matchups. And he wouldn't even need to. If he becomes the lead scorer and Cade can be the best defender, okay, right? So like there's a world in which Cade can be the best player on a contending team with an elite scorer next to him and an elite rim protector role, like lob threat.
Yeah.
You have those two things, Cade's going to be great. He's going to be fine. And it doesn't really matter what else you have there.
Well, I want to ask you then. No, it makes total sense. And I think I've seesawed between him being the leading scorer and him not being the leading scorer. but I think I'm more with you on him being more of a facilitator, and Ivy or player X being the leading scorer. But I just want to. So Mateo says at least we're better than last year, and I agree. So
Be hard
kind of
not
just
to be.
zooming, yeah. But just zooming out a little bit, because this will take us into some of the trade stuff. I think they're 9-14 now. They go 3-1 in the NBA Cup. How are you feeling about this team overall? Because I mean, the past week, apart from the Pacers win, has been pretty rough. But I still think you spoke then about Ivy and Cade. I still think those two as your backcourt. I'm still very high on that. It's probably the other stuff, which is where I'm going to be keeping an eye on, or think changes are needed or drastic improvements needed on a consistent basis. Just where are you at?
Oh,
It hurts your brain.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm this close to just like come talk to me in the off season. I'll check in at the trade deadline
Yeah.
because that's fun, which is probably gonna be boring. And then let's just get through this year. Like that's a little bit. And I know I've been the chew the meat, spit out the bones. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of bones, y'all.
Especially the last week.
And it's getting to the part of the season where I'm like, I'm not gonna feel bad if I don't watch this game.
Yeah.
Now, especially now the NBA Cup's over. Like it's like, okay, I'll check in the games that I want to check in. If they win, I'll go back and watch it on the replays because that will be enjoyable. But I'm not losing sleep and planning my schedule around this team at this point.
Yeah.
It's bad to say, but we're a quarter into the season at this point. We kind of have an idea of who they are. If they continue to kind of hang in the play-in race for a little bit, which I think they will because the East is just bad, like I'm going to keep an eye on them. But yeah, I think that's where I'm at, unfortunately. And again, part of it's just my life stage too, y'all. Like,
yeah,
I've got a 9-month-old son. Like, we got things moving and shaking over here, and I'm enjoying life. And so I'm like, my life doesn't hang and end on like what the Pistons do. So I can easily just like, hey, if I have to duck, I'll duck for. It's just crazy. Like I'm a big fan. I kind of am a all in or all out kind of guy. So like,
yeah.
If that's where I'm at, it's just kind of it just hasn't been fun to watch lately, to be honest. And I think that's where I'm at, and I can just say that's what it is.
Yeah.
If Asar gets his gas back and it starts, again, those are the kind of things that but I'll be easily sucked back in. Give me a 5-game win streak, and I'm all the way back in, right? Like I don't know. So
no, that's totally fair, man.
At.
Like obviously, like I'll be watching every game, and this is what I do now. But I fully
God bless you. Yes, I'm with you.
No.
Do it, Jack.
But I think what you're saying, and this is why the next 2 games for me are like, and this is why the Philly game to me was honestly maybe more disappointing. No, it wasn't more disappointing than tonight. That's crazy. But I was
in the moment. I think you could say that.
I was so disappointed, man, because I just felt like, and I know Philly had Paul George back. I think it was first game. Travel stuff, yes. I just felt like that was a really good opportunity to win, to really solidify that Pacers win, and just whatever happens in the Bucks game, I don't know, it doesn't feel as bad, but they got absolutely torched by the 76ers. And I'm like, okay, all right, it's this Bucks game. They're going all out. I don't know if they're going to win, but I know they're going to put up a really good effort. They've had their rest. Cade's back, no injuries. And then to get that tonight, I can see why you feel the way you do, because I'm like a bit disheartened, but it's that's why it's like they play at Boston now tomorrow, and then at Madison Square Garden on, I think it's Saturday night for you guys. So I'm hoping they can just somehow get one win, because that'll get people feeling better.
I think they'll get one. I think there's a chance they'll get one, most likely because the Knicks might be resting a little bit.
Yeah.
Who knows? The NBA is weird, and I think the Pistons have like done the thing where sometimes they play up to their opponent or whatever, like, and not. I think they're getting more into a rhythm again with Asar back. They are having to like relearn communication. Like Gasar's missed a lot of time, and so I think that's also where we see some of them being out of sync, is they're working in a guy who can legitimately be anywhere on the court at all times because of athleticism, having to relearn, like, okay, where do I fit in the system? Like, and he spoke to that at the beginning of the season. He's like, last year I was just getting by on athleticism, and now I actually know what to look for. So now again, it's just getting back to getting used to each other, I think, is a real thing that needs to happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, just do you have any other thoughts on tonight's game? I know we're kind of wrapped it up, but I
think tonight's game, it's just disappointing. It is what it is. It got too big for them. They let the lead get away from them. And I know we don't need to spend hours on this, but it's really hard to get back in a game when you're giving a bunch of open threes and you can't even look at a guy sideways and he's going to get a call. Right? Like,
can I ask you about that guy? Because I just said, oh, you might have been watching, but I respect Giannis. I think if he was on my team, I would love watching him. But honestly, I really don't enjoy the experience. Just being honest, like the free throws take like 30 seconds. Like but I went to the kitchen and got something to eat, come back, and he hadn't even taken his first free throw. Like I was just like, what the like? Anyway.
Yeah, I think he's the same for me. It's the same with Embiid.
Yeah,
like that is the one thing that I just cannot stand. If an offensive player initiates a contact, it should not be a foul, or it should be an offensive foul. Period.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I'm much okay with not calling any foul. Like, let the game play. If the offensive player wants to initiate the contact, great. But Lord Jesus, help me. Like, I cannot stand he's got his whole arm wrapped around Duran on that drive, and they call a bump as the foul. Like, are we kidding?
That was crazy.
Giannis is not. Yeah. He's not a 5'5" high school girl playing in the varsity. Like,
I couldn't
he's
believe.
6'11", 250. He's a big dude. Like, he doesn't need that. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how dainty they are with their stars, and it's just like, and I think the frustrating thing is because K doesn't get that whistle, it's even more exacerbated, right? Like, we're like, okay, we finally have a guy who could be a star, and we do not get that same treatment.
Man, it is crazy. Cade's first possession, he pump fakes, gets Andre Jackson in the air. Andre Jackson's he's got his hands up straight, but he's still going towards Cade. Cade rises up, takes like some contact, no foul. Literally, I was like, everyone gets that call. And
it's baffling because it's not like, because Jaden Ivey gets to the line, Duran gets his fair share. It's not like it's like none of the Pistons get a whistle. Now they're still pretty below average, I think, in terms of free throw rate and things like that. They also can't hit them with a Duran, so it probably doesn't matter anyway. But I think it's kind of strange.
It's strange, and I don't know what it is. I feel like we've been talking about this with Cade his whole career pretty much, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's got to sell contact more, and I don't know. It wasn't the difference tonight, but it's just something that continues to just be annoying for us, especially when you play guys like Giannis and Embiid and pretty much any other decent player in the league.
Well, yeah, it's like that's one of the things. It's like when Embiid has 10 free throws before the Pistons even have 5 as a team, it's things like that just, and it's not for lack of driving to the rim. I think that's the other thing, where if they were settling for a bunch of threes, you could explain it away, but no, and I don't want to complain about it forever, but it is something to keep an eye on. If anything, that's one of the more concerning things that I have about Cade is if he's never going to get that whistle, he's gotta shoot more threes then. He's got to change the way he plays, and that's just never how he's played the game. So it's he has to learn how to adjust. And so far, he has not learned how to adjust. And there's been a lot made. So.
Well, that's the thing tonight. Only, I guess 16 attempts is okay. I feel like, though, he was a bit, I guess he had those turnovers. But you're right. If at some point, obviously we can blame the officials or whatever, but at some point, you're right. Cade has to adjust a little bit. Because I still think there's time for him to earn that whistle, because I think it is a real thing. Respectable team or good players on respectable teams, you earn some sort of respect from the officials, and the Pistons have been anything but that since Cade's been here. But it's a good call from you. Something he has to maybe change if the whistle doesn't start going his way a bit more.
Yeah.
So
Other
Derek
than
here,
that, no, I don't think I have any more from this game. Just it is what it is, and I think I didn't. There was nothing really enjoy about it except for like the first few minutes.
I probably should have asked you, what did you? This was the last thing. What were you expecting tonight? Like honestly.
I don't know if I had expectations. I was really hoping, just for the sake of me being right, that they'd win. Because I'm like, I called this in July. Yeah, I'm hoping just for the sake of that. I will be on. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say I threw up a prayer or two just for the sake of just for the gag that they would win. But But yeah, I don't know if I had high expectations. I think I expected them to look better than that. Because I think they had been playing up to their opponents, and I knew that it was going to be tough with Giannis. Like I was worried about that. I was really hoping the Bucks would lose, so it wouldn't come down to that. So I'm not surprised by the result necessarily. And it wouldn't really, frankly, have mattered if it was closer anyway, because I think the Magic lost, right? So
so I don't
like
think
they would have had to win anyway.
Yeah.
So that's all. I mean, I wish they would have won. I thought they could, but not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised they lost. It's just like didn't expect it to be over that early. I kept thinking, okay, maybe they can make a run, but that was just me trying to cope and get through the end of the game. All right. I know I kind of just asked you before, and you were like, just get me to the trade deadline. It kind of ties back to zooming out a little bit on this team, and we've had this chat a few times now. But yeah, where are you at with this young core? Because I think one thing that you've said, or one of the many things you've said since joining these streams that stuck with me, is like Jaden Ivey and Duran. Like I don't think they're trading Ivey, but and I promise for the Duran fans in the comments, this isn't got anything to do with his game tonight. It's just he's the interesting one because, Carl, you kind of said if you're looking to move him, it's probably best to do it at this trade deadline. So the team you're moving him to has half of this season and next season on his final year to see what they have. Where are you at with, I guess, Duran and Ivy to a lesser extent?
I'm keeping Ivy. And I think where I've landed right now, I think where he's at currently, he's on pace for like a 3-year, $120 million contract.
Ivy?
Maybe 119-ish. That puts him around the same percentage of the cap as Jalen Green for his extension, which I think he's more than earned that. Maybe not. I don't know what you think. Do you think Jalen Green has shown more than Ivy?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's so hard because I don't know. They're very similar. Like, not in their play style. Like, they kind of are, but in terms of how their careers have gone, I think the expectations are way higher for Jalen Green. Not that they weren't high for Ivy, but
sure.
So was that 3 years, 120 million, or 4 years, 120?
3.
So you're kind of paying more annually, but it's on shorter years. Because I think last time we were saying he's worth around 30, but
it starts at like 36, then he gets the 8% raise. Okay. So it's averaging close to 40 a year, but it starts at that 36 number.
I will be honest, like 40 sounds like a lot, but I'm assuming this is factoring in the cap going up a little bit as well.
Yeah, the cap's going to go up 10% every year, and he only can get 8% raises.
Yeah.
So you're kind of.
Yeah, I think 3. Is there any reason why you wouldn't have the 4th year on there?
I think so. My prediction is I think the Pistons would love to get the 4th year. I think Ivy pushes if he's not getting his max number at the 25% of the cap. That's because right now I have him around 22% of the cap in the first year. So that's where that 36 number is coming from.
Okay.
Plus 8% raises, so it evens out to about 40 per year. But so Ivy, so players after 7 years of experience are eligible for a 30% max.
Okay.
And so we saw this a lot this past summer where these guys do a 3-year extension so they can hit free agency again in their 7th year or after 7 years of experience, so that they can resign. It's like they could potentially earn a 30% cap rather than being stuck at the 25% number.
Yeah.
So if he gets his max, I think he does a 4 or 5 year extension. If he doesn't get his max, then I think, and especially with the way the cap is going up, I think a lot more guys are going to do that 3-year, maybe 4-year extension if they're like their number and they're not sure about their market. And so, no, Kyle doesn't want to pay Jaden Ivey $40 million a year. And it's not my money. And it's not about who else is going to pay him. Again, that's not how this thing works, right? That's just not how building a team works. I think if the question is, do you think other players, his age and his like, does he provide the same to this team as Jalen Green does to the Rockets? Like that's the baseline. Like that's who we're comparing it to.
Because I guess the question is, to go back to Derek as well, is if you don't, because this is like, yes, you're paying him for the first year of extension, but this is kind of what you project Ivy to be as well a little bit. So I guess, Derek, the honest question to you, do you not think Jaden Ivey ever gets to someone worth that value? Because if you don't, then would you move him? Or maybe that's too black and white. Maybe it should be, maybe it's just he's not worth that. But then, like you said, Kyle, I think when you do these extensions, you also don't want to like offer something up that, I don't know, would offend the player and agent. I'm not sure. It's just, and I think the Jalen Green comparison is really good as well, because I think they're kind of had similar careers so far. There's so much potential there, but you're kind of paying a little bit for like what you project them to be.
Right. I mean, the other option is, right. So like, again, Ivy's a starter on this team. Okay. He's going to expect to get paid starter money. So like, and with the cap, so that's why we're doing a percentage of the cap. You have to remember $40 million a year. One, he's starting at 36. His cap hold this summer is already 30 million, or like for the extension. So like that's like 20% of the cap ish. Okay. Because the cap is going to be $170 million when his extension starts. And just for reference, that's $40 million than it is right now. Okay. So we're literally talking about free money, $40 million a year. Like they don't even, they're going to have $40 million in cap by the time this extension starts. Yep. Right. So they could sign him to that and have the same exact cap room they have now. So we've got to stop. Like part of it is you have to understand like 40 million is the new 20 million.
Yeah.
By the time this all comes into play. Okay. Again, I'm not saying he's necessarily worth all of that. I think he's playing starter minutes, and if you don't sign him to that, like he's not going to re-sign an extension. Like you'll have to go into restricted free agency. You might be able to get something, maybe a better deal, but like I don't know. I just think that's where it's going to end up being for him, based on what he's showing, just as a scorer alone, right? Like. What is he averaging right now? 19 points or 18 points a game?
18, 19, yeah. But no, I think if it's 3 years, average of 40 a year, if that's what it kind of ends up being, I think it's just as well, do you believe in the Caden Ivey backcourt? And I think I do. So, and maybe that's just cost of doing business. But like you said, the cap, by the time this extension hits, it's already going up by that value. So it's not as if it's 40 million from 2 years ago. It's like you said, probably around like 25. So it just sounds like a lot. It is scary as well, because it's like,
yeah, and I get it. Like,
yeah,
I totally get that. That number is below his max, right? We're talking 22% of the cap. He could get paid 25%. So, it's slightly under. I mean, Malik Monk is getting like just under 13% of the cap. Okay. But he's also already had a second contract and is a little farther along. Like, so let's say Malik Monk, you think is his ceiling. So then we're talking 3-year, $70 million contract. And I don't know if Ivy says yes to that at all. But maybe he does. But I think he probably thinks he can probably get more than that on the open market.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of free agents even hit the market. So that's the other thing you have to consider here. Like most people get their extension because you need the salary built into your cap sheet, because the only way the Pistons can go over the cap and create spending flexibility is by having guys on these contracts that they can sign with their rights over the cap. And so to maximize their spending, they need to spend all of their cap this summer. Really, they needed to do this last summer before Cade extension hits in, but that is what it is. They need to get good players on decent contracts and fill up their cap room now so they can sign guys above the cap. And so then when you trade these guys and you can do all these mechanisms, so you have room to build these teams like what the Sixers did, or like the Warriors. Like the reason why they're able to spend so much money in Boston is because they drafted these players, and then were able to sign them above the cap with their rights. So that's kind of, it's not always about the player. Sometimes it's about the salary, and having a guy on a contract like that is a really good thing to have, as long as he's not terrible. You can usually make do with that and salary match and do some things. So that's part of the equation here.
I agree. Like, I'm learning. This is all good. I think, like, honestly, like, so just final thing on the Ivy, like 3 years, 120 million. I would much prefer if he was closer to like between 30 and 35. But if that's what the going rate kind of is for a scoring shooting guard, then I think everything you said makes so much sense. So ideally it's a little bit less, but yeah, I do believe in Ivy. I really do. From what we've seen, it was still got a whole season to, obviously, before this would even be like, you don't have to extend them during the season, do you? It can be.
You have up until the start of next season.
Yeah, so it can be. They've got all summer. Like they can go.
They have all summer to do this.
Yeah, and it would it be like almost stupid to extend him before free agency? Oh no, it wouldn't matter. Sorry, no, don't worry. Ignore that question.
No.
Yeah.
And just for reference, Jalen Green signed, just to kind of bring this full circle, he signed a 3-year 105. So he's making around that 33 to 36. And I think if Ivy's up for that, that's great. Like I think that's possible, but he's signing his extension 2 years later, and the cap will be $40 million more. Right. Yeah. So I just don't think you can get that same contract. So that's why I use the same percentage. I use Jalen Green's exact percentage that he signed, and just that's where I got that 36 number. So I know it sounds like a lot, but it is kind of in that range. And I think Ivy does more for the Pistons than Jalen Green does for the Rockets right now.
Yeah, the only
in terms of overall load.
Yeah, I would say that stretch Jalen Green had last year, though, was probably a lot more impressive than anything Ivy's done. But I think Ivy can be a better player. But like, I think the contract, it's perfect because they're kind of like similar career arcs. Jalen Duren.
I don't want him on my basketball team.
I forgot.
Like he's showing improvements. He is showing improvements in stints for sure. Yeah. And maybe JB will work his magic and turn him into a decent defender. Maybe. I think it's possible. I know the Lakers are still looking for a center. So I don't know what you can get from them for him.
It'd probably be like, honestly, wouldn't it be like Gabe Vincent in some sort of 2 seconds or something?
Yes, it would probably be Gabe Vincent and maybe 3 seconds, because you're eating that contract too.
Yeah. Oh, isn't he expiring? I just assumed he was an expiring.
It's more because of they're in the tax and he's making enough money that I think that's, let me double check though. No, he's got one more year next year too. For $11.5 million. So he's not cheap. So like if we're eating Gabe Vincent,
definitely more.
they're not gonna give a first round pick for Duren and Vincent. You might be able to do a future swap. I could see that being a thing that they do if the Pistons want to play hardball, which I'd be excited about. But Lakers draft picks are kind of crappy because they're always good because they can always just reset on the fly.
Yeah.
But they're one of the teams that I could see being willing to take him on to just be a bruiser and take up some of the beating that Anthony Davis takes just to keep him happy. And he's got, high potential tag still on him. So yeah, I could see that being something. But the problem is, who do the Pistons play instead then? Like, that's where it's like for this year.
Yeah, no, it's so tricky.
I don't know who they, yeah.
Yeah, I think. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Just give me. We're still in. Oh, I guess we're in December now. Trade deadline's still 2.5 months away.
Mm-hmm.
I think our discussion last time had me thinking that literally nothing's really going to happen. Like Trajan's just going to take on a bad contract for one of these teams looking to get out of the tax and get a pick, second rounder. What do you think happens? Just for fun. I know it's
right now. I think Brandon Ingram ends up in Chicago somehow. That's my dark horse. Although the cap sheets don't mesh very well with those two teams, I spent a little bit of time figuring that out. So that's my non-Pistons take. I think that could be a good fit. I wonder if they find a way to trade Duren to the Pelicans just because the relationship's there and they don't have a center at all. So that would be another team that, like, maybe they take a flyer on him to do that. But yeah, I could also see them just rolling with Duren through the summer and into restricted free agency. I don't think much is going to happen. Trajan doesn't seem to me like a guy who's going to like cut bait in the middle of the summer or the season. Like, he seems a little more calculated and kind of like meticulous, like kind of planning, he's going to let it ride a little bit, but maybe not. We don't know really, but he kind of strikes me as a guy who's maybe a little more patient or just isn't going to come to conclusion quickly. So yeah, I think this is going to be what it is. I did see that Elfrid Payton got cut by the Pellies, so that could be a guard help if needed kind of situation if they determine that it's just not working.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's much of a point guard necessarily though, but like in terms of a distributor.
Well, he did have 21 assists in a game. I think he is a bit of a distributor. He just doesn't really do much else on offense.
And they mostly cut him because one second. They mostly cut him.
You're good.
Because they didn't have they're in the tax and they wanted to save the money.
Yeah.
And so now he'll probably want to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's just ultimately, like, as long as they stay on this pace and like they don't like go into some deep hole, which I don't think they will with this roster. I think they'll probably just keep it as is, and just it would be. I guess that the one player to watch though is Tim Hardaway Jr. Because I guess they could just sign him to another 1-year deal next year, but it's just interesting. I guess you got the seconds for him, so it's not like if he walks, you didn't get anything. But I could just see them being like, all right, we won 29 games. We've jumped up in the lottery. We've got the 4th pick, and then. But like you said, Cade's extension kicks in next summer, so.
Yeah, I mean they still are probably going to operate as a below the cap team with about 24.8 million.
Yeah,
without any moves right now. Yeah, I would like there to be some movement. I think this team needs to be broken up, and you just hope that Duren really turns it on for the last little bit and can recoup some of his value. I just don't think he's a long-term fit. And so hear me, this is not about whether I think Duren can be – okay, it's kind of about that because I don't think he's got it between the ears to be a good defender. I just don't. He's low. He's slow in his processing. He doesn't have feel on the defensive end. That's not something you just learn. I think we've got enough tape to see like he's got the athleticism to make up for a little bit of that in the right system. And yes, he's starting to get blocks now, and that's great. Drummond always was able, like a stocks leader, it never produced good defense or wins. It was opportunistic. When he could get his, he did it, but it almost never turned into like, consistent good defensive like rating as a team. And so I just don't think he has what it takes to be an elite defender. And I don't think he does enough other things well to make up for that difference. So I don't think he's a good fit next to Cade for that reason. Like, he's a great rim runner. They have great chemistry, but I think Cade can get that with anybody. So I just don't think that's the archetype that this team needs, is a somewhat good offensive big that can lob, threaten, can kind of pass and see the floor, but doesn't really engage if he's not getting to do that, and is kind of slow on the defensive process. Like, that's just not going to work with this team. So that's my take. It has more to do with a fit thing, because I don't think what his ceiling is going to fit well long term. So hopefully you can get enough value off of him to move him to a team that wants to see his potential. I don't think he's ever going to be get multiple first or even a first back for him. It's always going to be a matter of, can I include him in a package when I take a swing for the next disgruntled star, or you're going to get a couple second round picks for him from a team that needs a cheap center for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think as well, it's just, there's Asar and Ron Holland here who knows what Ron becomes. Like, same with, like, I think Asar is, I still just really struggle to see how, if Duren, because he's just never going to shoot. And like Asar, I think his position he plays and the uniqueness of him is more valuable than JD or a center that has his skill set. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Jack.
Yeah.
Do you think Duren, in terms of what he's shown on the court and his potential, how do you think that compares to Saddiq Bey?
In terms of like the value he brings, even if it's in a different way, or like,
like just in terms, like Saddiq Bey fetched them 5 second round picks, which they turned around and traded for Wiseman, which was stupid. But so 5 second round picks for Saddiq Bey. Saddiq Bey had a discernible NBA skill, which was 3-point shooting, which is obviously coveted.
Yeah.
But he wasn't good on defense. He couldn't really pass the ball like that. He was a shooter with a big body, right? And had some cool moments, 50-point game. So like he, for sure had his things. Do you think Saddiq Bey is more of a surefire NBA player than Jalen Duren? And like, how would you compare those two in terms of just like value?
I think Duren has more value because of that potential. Even if like you're like us and you've watched most of his games and the more we watch, the further away it gets from that potential we see for him. But I think Saddiq was a very limited player, and the shooting was a thing, but he was incredibly streaky as a shooter. Like, he was a volume guy, but he constantly, I think he was always around like 32, 33%. So I think, but in terms of like the value piece of it, like, I mean, 5 seconds, what a weird number that was. Just to start.
I think everyone thought Saddiq Bey could be a rotation player on a contending team.
Yeah.
I think people thought that, like, he could plug and play and could play rotation minutes in a contending team.
Rookie Saddiq Bey, maybe we have a different conversation. I kind of don't like the way Sadiq's game ended up developing with Detroit. So I think at the time of his trade, I think Duren has more value, but I think it's a great question. What do you think?
Well, that's why they traded him, because he'd go off script and didn't do what the coach told him to do and try to play hero ball, and it worked one time against Golden State, but that was it. Right. So like that was part of the issue. And I was with you. I thought I thought Sadiq Bey had a chance to be the next Paul George, right? We all like rookie with he came out, crazy.
Yeah. A lot of Chris Middleton in his rookie season getting thrown around,
right?
Which I was one of them.
Right. Do you think so? Going with that, do you think Jalen Duren has shown that he can be a rotation player on a contending team?
You know what? As a backup, I think he could, because there's not like he could come in, play 15 to 18 minutes, rebound, and I know he has his defensive issues, but you could take him out. Like I really think he can be that. Because
do you think other people view him as that though?
Yeah, I actually do. I really do. I think people who outside of Pistons fans are much higher on Jalen Duren in general. I think a lot more people are coming to understand his shortcomings for sure, but I think that's honestly what I think.
So I think that puts Duren's trade value at least 3 seconds.
Yeah,
like we're accounting for seconds being a little more valuable now because of the new CBA. So I've cut the Bay's value by 40%. So I'm saying that Duren is now 40% of the value of Sadiq Bey on the trade market. Would you trade Jalen Duren for 3 good second round picks?
Like before this trade deadline?
Yeah, like if you know you're not going to resign him, like or are you trying to get him? Are you trying to convince him to come on a cheap deal, which is like $20 million a year at this point? 18.
That's a lot. This is why you're better at this than I am.
13. I mean, the mid-level exception is $13 million a year, so he probably gets at least $13 million in the open market from a team that needs a center. Yeah, my guess.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for him to take that from Detroit, in like an extension.
Well, I think true. It sounds crazy, but I think where I may be landing just after this is like maybe just kind of no, don't trade him this. Like I don't think you're going to get much this season. It's kind of like either try and re-sign him for cheap this summer, or maybe let it play out in restricted. I don't know, man.
Well, here's the thing. His trade value is going to be the highest it's going to be is this trade deadline. From a contract timeline situation.
Yeah.
Now he could blow up again this summer. Like he could eventually get better and like be more valuable potentially, but then you're starting to go, well, now he's good, but then we're not really getting the benefit. We can't extend him now because you traded him too late to extend him. So he's going to go in restricted. So he's automatically a 1-year rental.
Yeah.
So we still have the rights for him, but that's where you're starting to get into the challenge trade like situation where you're only going to get a second for him. Someone's going to be like, yeah, we'll give a second so we can have access to him to have his rights.
Yeah.
But you're not really getting any value from him.
Yeah. It's so tough. So tough. I think if this is such a bad way to answer it, but I think whatever happens, I think the Pistons if they like, for me, my young core who I'm building around is Cade, Ivy, Asar. I don't know the value of all their contracts, but if I'm picking 3 out of the 5 first-round picks they have on rookie deals currently, I'm not including Marcus Sasser, it's those 3, and I think the rest is like, I think you just got to try and get something for them. I just really don't think JD fits that well with that core, with what we've seen. So
yeah,
I'm not really answering the question because it's too difficult.
No, that's exactly where I'm at, and so they're in a hard spot.
That's the real basic way of it. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that we've spoken about this, answered more questions at this point of the rebuild, but yeah, that's kind of just how I feel overall.
And so I think you have to basically what the Pistons have to do real quick. Beasley Arrow, go to spotrac.com, SPOTRAC.
Yeah, I'll drop it in.
Yeah, they have all kinds of cap tools, all kinds of charts and future years, and it's amazing. That's what I use for a lot of my stuff. I have my own spreadsheets that I use, but I reference that a lot to confirm a lot of the stuff that I use. So It's amazing. Keith Smith, NBA on Twitter and Blue Sky is a great resource for this stuff. And he's really good. So I'll just plug that. But I think the Pistons have to thread this needle now where, like, because I think they agree. I don't think Duran's a fit. But you have to act like you want him long enough and to give him a chance to show his value around the league to make him worth something. And that's normal. Every team has to do this. And I've said this before, and I've written articles about this. This is what good GMs do. You don't draft for fit. You draft guys that have potential and talent. And then when they've reached their ceiling as a team because they don't fit together, that's when you trade and consolidate guys for better players. So should they trade Duran for a bunch of second-round picks? No, they should probably use him in a trade as an asset that gets them close to being able to bring in someone the next level up. If it's like a Brandon Ingram, for example, right? Like in the offseason, that was one of my favorite trade things. Let's put Ivy and Ivy and Duran and stuff, send them over to get Brandon Ingram, okay? Because he might fit better. Like that's what you kind of do. That's how these things work. And so all of us getting so married to, well, Duran's got all this potential. He's amazing. Like the reality is you're going to have two of these guys out of all the people that are drafted that are still on this team when they're contending. Maybe three if you're drafting like peak Spurs and peak Warriors, okay?
Yeah, Thunder as well.
That's it. Well, on the Thunder, the Thunder did this. How many championships did they even go to?
So true. Yeah.
Right? They had drafted 4 Hall of Famers in a row. And they got to one conference final. And then they had to break it up because money and because of things. And now they might have been able to find a way to get together. They were just a cheap ownership group. But that's the thing we're talking about here. Like, and I know we long for the days of 8 straight conference finals. And y'all remember that the going to work Pistons, they didn't draft any but one of their starters.
Which
like everyone was a trade. Tayshaun.
Oh, Tayshaun. Yeah, I was thinking of the other 4, but yeah.
Everyone else was brought in via trade.
Yeah.
And they had some bench guys they drafted. But like, so it's just, I think we romanticize this idea of let's draft all these guys and now they're our core because we drafted them. It's like, that's just not how the NBA works.
Yeah.
You find the guy and maybe the other guy and you sell everybody else off for spare parts until you build up enough. Like, it's the take a paper clip and keep trading until you get a house. Like that's that game. That's what we're trying to do. And Troy Weaver was terrible at it. And so now it's like, that's what we just need to see. They need to figure out how to consolidate these guys into something that's slightly better and fits slightly better so that other guys look slightly better, that they can trade them up for more things later. Like that's just how this works.
Yeah, it is. It's like that's why the Pistons rebuild has been so rough, but like sometimes rebuilds can be fun because you get all these young players, you get kind of attached to them, and then it's like there comes this point though where like they get to that fun stage where they're like around the playoffs and then they might have a playoff series, but then it's like, all right, time to win. You consolidate, and because you can't pay them all anyway, so yeah, it's like, and like I just said my 3 guys who, from what we've seen, that's who I'm building around. And when I say that, I'm not maxing Ivy and Asar. Like maybe but it's just they're the 3 guys I see of the core that.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. That's where I'm at too. And to YouTube users' point, BI was an example. Like I'm not saying Ingram would be a great fit on this team because I agree, like his shot selection with Cade, like that could be interesting. But he's objectively a better talent than other people that they have on this team. And so that's where, again, this team is not contending to a point where you need to fine tune all the dynamics of this team. You need to get more talent and more assets. Their asset deficit, right? We're down 1 first-round pick as it is. Like eventually that's going to convey, or it's not because we're going to be terrible for 4 more years, right? If it doesn't convey, that's almost more concerning at this point. You want it to convey, yeah. Right? And if anything, this is my hot take is I'd almost rather convey this year. 26 draft is pretty good too. And so if it conveys this year, it spreads out the like how many young guys they have. It gives them a little more runway to to consolidate and build some things, because that means they were good enough to make the playoffs. It's top 13 protected. Okay, so that means they were in the playoffs. That's what that would mean. So I wouldn't be disappointed if that. Shout out to Eric at Hoops Distillery, who told me I should be rooting all in for a Pistons playoff run, because next year's draft is just as good potentially as this year's. So I'll give him credit. Go follow him, Hoops Distillery. But anyway, so I don't know, man. I want to see something different. I get to the point now where it's like, we've seen this team together. I know it's a new coach, it's a new system.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have a handle of what Jalen Duren is. And yes, patience is good and important. The counterpoint to that, how young he is do you really want to start paying a 21-year-old like max money who hasn't quite only on potential, and find out 2 years later with 2 more years left on his contract that he's never turning into the guy? Like, that's the other risk. We're like, yeah, great, he's young and amazing, but that means you're starting to pay him real money. Like, it doesn't mean you get a longer runway, like, before you have to pay him.
Yeah.
So there is a downside to that I think a lot of people don't really consider when you like, these are hyper raw potential guys. You just hope that he shows just enough that you can hope in it, but not have to pay him like he's got the full potential, right? Like, that's what you're hoping for is and maybe that's what's happening, right? Maybe it's like, you're just bad enough that we can pay you $15 million a year, and then you're going to hit year 4 and we get 3 years of good money on you, and then Bob's your uncle, right? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
But man, it's I just can't. I don't see it.
Is so, because I feel like I know I'm with you, but then there's just part of me that's like, maybe I'm overthinking it. But just in terms of his fit with the others, if he can get to his potential. But I think where I feel comfortable in like just not having him in that top 3, I guess of the core that I said I'm keeping is like mainly the positional value aspect. Like, I just think wings, scorers, ball handlers are far more valuable than a center of Jalen Duren's. And I know Duren wouldn't be commanding like close to the 40 mil we discussed with Ivy, or even 30, but it's still, that's where I'm just comfortable with going with the 3 players I've kind of picked.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at too. I mean, look at the team. Okay. And we'll say this last thing and we can stop beating this dead horse, but like, okay, look at Joel Embiid and Jokic, right? These are, we would all agree, like, can you name another center that is good enough to build your team around and has worked like consistently paying the max?
Not off the top of my head.
Maybe Anthony Davis.
Is Wemby a center?
Sure, but I
just want to make sure we're getting everyone.
Let's say he is, right? But I would say you're foolish if you're ready to build around him. He's still young. I still think he's out of the league year after 5 years because I don't think his body holds up. Okay, that's a whole nother thing. Go look at the math. Players over 7'3" don't last in the league very long.
That's fair.
Just a thing, which is why he lied. Which is why he lied about his height over and over again. Because he's saying he's shorter than he actually is, but he's not. Okay. I've seen the Draymond Green the photo. He's at least a foot taller than Draymond Green. He's 6'7". Okay, so, but anyway, yes, I would love Wemby. This is my coping. I call him, so I'm going to say he's going to be a bust. But my point is, in all of that, how many centers can you actually build a team around? And I would say we would all say Embiid and Jokic are maybe the 2, right? Multiple MVPs for both. How many championships combined between them?
Yeah, just the one. Embiid, it's a rough time.
How many conference championships between the 2 of them?
Just the one.
Embiid has never even been to the conference finals.
Yeah. It's a great point.
Embiid has just as many second-round playoff wins as the Pistons do since he's been drafted. There's another way to say that.
Yeah, that's great.
So whatever you think Duren is going to be, if it's not Jokic or Embiid, if it's not, and even if they can't lead their team to it, what do we think Duren's going to do? Right? And yet the only reason why we think he's got potential is because of he's as an offensive hub.
Yeah.
And he's got athleticism kind of, and we're starting to see it's maybe not as functional as we thought it was. in terms of defense laterally or being able to like quick jump. Like he can leap, but it's a little more, takes a little longer than maybe you think it would, whatever. And his ankles are questionable at best. Right. So again, I don't want to be down on the guy, but I think we have to like understand he's not Embiid, he's not Jokic, he's not 75% of what those guys are.
Yeah.
And yet we're talking about hoping that he hits his potential and can potentially be a guy that can be part of the thing. And the things that we need him to do, he's not showing proficiency in or growth in, which is namely defense. Because if you're not an offensive superstar like one of them, you have to be an elite defender in order to be valuable as a center.
Yeah.
Like, look at Sabonis. Like, maybe can he become Sabonis? Maybe.
Sabonis
like that would be a
really
big.
Like I know the defensive stuff, but yeah.
But that would be like Duran's ceiling, right?
Yeah, in terms of maybe impact.
But in terms of like
an all-star, man. Like he's pretty good.
Sure, right. But has he won anything?
No.
They're paying him a lot of money.
Yeah, there's a huge ceiling with him as your center.
Right, because then you have to build your offense around him, which means you need a specific type of guard and wings that can cover for him defensively. You know, like you're talking about needing a very specified skill set to put around him. And maybe this isn't what people want to hear, and I don't want to be whatever. Like, and I probably should go to bed soon. But my point is,
yeah. I think we're not bashing Durant. We just genuinely find it interesting. He's the player that's just so interesting. I think because of Ivy, I think is still to this point shown a fair bit this season that gives you confidence in him. Whereas Durant's been better recently, but there's been some really tough moments watching him this season. And coming into the season, him and Ivy are like the two most kind of intriguing players just because of the contract situation and what year they're in. So,
right.
I don't think we're bashing him. It's really hard to get a read on what the Pistons will do with him.
Right. And I don't want to be like, I think more of my point is like, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer necessarily. Like, it's just more of, and what do I know? I'm just a dude on like, I just think like, as much as I want to, like, because I'm coming from the same spot. I was excited when we drafted him. I love the defensive potential and the rim running. I thought, man, this guy could be it. And if he can pass the ball a little bit, whoa, that's going to be amazing. It can really unlock the offense, like all those things. And we've had 3 years of seeing it kind of play out. Yeah. And now kind of seeing what things, I think it just is not a good fit. Now, do I think he can still be a good player? Yes. Do I think he could be valuable on the right team? Absolutely. Especially as a backup big. So my point is, can you get something for him now and punt the decision, let someone else worry about it? I don't think that's a bad idea, especially if you can get in the realm of 3 to 4 second-round picks for him or put him in a deal. But it's hard to find teams that will want that too. I think that's the other side that you're like, for all the same reasons why we don't want him. It's like, okay, who's going to need him to do that? And it's hard to find that, to be honest. Yeah. Like, there's a handful of teams that maybe could use him. The Spurs might be one of them.
Yeah, that's true. Because they have Zach Collins, plays a lot of center. And then, man, I don't even know who else. Obviously, Wemby.
You got to think, like, who are the fours that can stretch and help cover defensively? Like, does Golden State fit? Like, just to have a guy who can come rebound off the bench and be an elite offensive rebounder? Because that's the thing Durant has. He's an elite offensive rebounder. At least in theory. I don't know if it's down this year.
He is for his career.
So I think that's something where it's like you have something to build off of. So teams that already have established cultures and have it that, again, like that can bring him in and play this role. Can they try to unlock that? I think that's where you kind of look for things like that. And right now he's still cheap. So teams that are contenders that are really expensive that only have limited ways to build their team right now, he fits into a lot of those restrictions.
Yeah.
And it's easy to make work. So it's just a matter of, can you find those teams that can offset some salary, that have extra second round picks to do that with, I don't know. Maybe Gabe Vincent. Well, no, they're not going to trade a first round. They're not going to trade a first round pick to get Durant because they're going to save that for a superstar swing when they need to. Yeah. So, but
because I feel like this summer Trajan had so much to do that it was like I think the way things went, considering he had to hire his own staff in the front office, hire basically 80% of I think they only retained Jarrett Jack and maybe a couple other guys in the coaching staff. And then the roster, like this summer is going to be so interesting. And the trade deadline, but I'm starting to think not much happens there. I think this offseason is going to be so interesting. Like
the only saving grace for the trade deadline could be the fact that because of how crazy the offseason was in terms of getting the staff in, that there are moves that they have in the hopper that they were ready to do that they just didn't have they couldn't pull off. And so Trajan might be a guy who's like antsy to get moving and do some things.
Yeah.
And once December 15th hits, when when 85 to 90% of the contracts now become tradable again, like trade season unofficially opens December 15th.
Which is only 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away, 11 days away. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it won't happen all right away, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But there's a chance that, he might have some things up his sleeve that he's been looking at eyeing and just didn't get done. But yeah, the problem is a lot of the fun things are probably out of reach right now because of the way the cap works. You're not going to be seeing. Well, let me throw this one out here for you. Okay, for your backup point guard itch. I don't know if we talked about this or not. Would you trade THJ for Lonzo?
Oh, that's just straight swap. I guess they're both expirings, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know what? I probably would if yeah, I think Lonzo's so interesting because he fits in so well with that dribble pass shoot backup point guard. Like you could probably play him in small lineups next to Ivy and Cade. I think I probably would. I don't know if that's crazy.
I would.
I think that'd be fun. Yeah, I don't know why. Why would the Bulls do that? Is the only thing I asked. Not to get into it too much, but now that I'm,
if Lonzo wants to go somewhere else, they're like it. Yeah. It's more of like THJ might fill a better spot for them.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Like it was more of just like if Lonzo wants out, he's got Trajan and he's got connections to Fred Vincent. Like there's connections. And so if he just wants a place where he can have a bigger role, but I don't know, probably wouldn't happen. But like at this point,
I would do it because I feel like Tim Hardaway. It's like I've enjoyed him particularly before his injury. Since coming back, he's been a bit rough, but like I think ultimately like he's not a long-term piece. So I think Lonzo could be that third guard. I know the injury stuff scares the hell out of you if you were going to extend him, but I think it'd be worth a look for sure. Because you got Tech who could slide up and play a bit more of those minutes at the 3 anyway.
Right.
And you got Ron as well, who needs more. Like you invested a top 5 pick in him. He needs more burn.
Yeah.
At some point.
Unfortunately, Tech for Alonzo doesn't work straight up. We'd be a couple million short. So you'd probably throw in Sasser in there or like a Wendell Moore Jr., which you could do by all means, or you could just cut Paul Reed and make the number work pretty easily. So you could do Tech and Paul Reed for Alonzo, or Tech cut Paul Reed before his guarantee date, and then you have enough to do that just to eat the whole contract. So then Chicago's saving money this year and has a guy that's roster salary controlled into next year. So I can see them wanting to do that. Like, I don't hate that either, to be honest, if you can turn Tech into Lonzo, since he hasn't really been as impactful this year. So that would be interesting. I think Lonzo's something to look for, because I know we talked about the backup point guard thing, and he's a guy that could potentially hit the market and could be really good for this team. But the Bulls might want to keep him. But I think the reason why the Bulls trade him is if they're winning too many games.
Yeah.
Because their pick goes to San Antonio if they don't land in the top. What is it? Top. Shoot. Let me look.
Oh, the Bulls are up at 8th at the moment. I mean, like seeds from 7 to 12 or 7 to 11. It's all
right, but they owe their
from 9
draft.
wins.
They owe their draft pick to
Yeah. The
and
Spurs?
so
No.
yeah, I think it's the Spurs. So if they don't start losing some games, where is it at? Yeah, they own it. They owe it to San Antonio. It's where's it at? Top 10 protected.
Okay.
Right. So like they want to be at least 7,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
8 to feel good, 7 or 8,
Yeah.
So like if they start winning too many games with Lonzo.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's been injured a fair bit this season, but I mean, maybe you could, I guess, like if he's not playing though, you could trade him and get something for him. So, yeah, I think like the injuries scare me, and I think Lonzo is probably always just going to be injured now. But I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing it. It'd be pretty fun.
I mean, he's an
He's one of
expiring
my
contract. You might
yeah
be able to you get his rights. So if you wanted to re-sign him on a decent deal, like maybe just underneath the taxpayer mid-level or the non-taxpayer mid-level, so that he can, if you ever had to cut him, he could buy out into a contender for cheap. Like you could do right by him in that way and still get a good backup point guard. So you always have him on with one of Cade or Ivy. Like one of those
yeah
three is always on the court. So you have that secondary facilitator. He's a good defender.
yeah
So he's an interesting option if
yeah
the Bulls think they're winning too much and want to get off his salary, like
yeah. I'm gonna quickly look up how much he's played this season. For some reason, I just feel like I've seen him being out heaps, but
well, he was out with a wrist injury
yeah,
for the first couple of weeks. So he just got back, but he's been playing decent.
yeah, he's only played 6 games this season. That kind of scares me. But like, I just don't. If it was just for like Tim Hardaway Jr. later in the season, they're in the deadline. Maybe it's worth it.
Yeah, and I don't know that happened, but it's just an interesting
yeah.
They could use that and eat that contract. Again, they could just cut Paul Reed and basically make that happen pretty easily if the Bulls just went out entirely. Because
they wouldn't be paying the tax, would they? No way.
I don't think they're in the tax.
Crazy.
There are some teams in the tax though that surprised. Let's see. Sorry, I know great. Oh boy, I just saw the time. I probably should go to bed soon.
Okay.
Where are we at? Oh yeah, they're well on. They're about $4 million under the tax right now, so not an issue.
It's interesting though. Like I think YouTube user, yeah, I agree. It's not better than THJ, like just one, like for this season right now. But I think I wouldn't mind, like if it's trade deadline, Pistons aren't around the play-in, or I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind seeing Lonzo if he's played a few more games. Obviously, if he's played like 10 games by the deadline, then no, I don't think anyone.
Yeah, for sure. Here's the thing that I would push back on YouTube user. Like, yes, you might be right that THJ is having a better a season individually. The question is, can you get what you're getting from THJ from Beasley, Asar, Ron? Like, there are other guys who can step in and play some of those minutes versus like, is THJ redundant with those things? Whereas you could shift, even get 90% of what THJ brings at a different position. Will that be better for the team? And because Lonzo is a better defender than THJ, although THJ is still taking all those charges, which is great. And I'm not saying he is. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think THJ has been better, and I don't know what Lonzo is. It's just more of a like we've identified not having, when Cade or Ivy are struggling or one of them's out, not having another ball handler, like real ball handler on the floor, has hurt the team's ability to do things, which hurts guys' development. Like it does. Like we can't just gloss it over. So could he contribute in a way that THJ isn't able to, that could be just as valuable, even if he's not individually better than THJ right now? Yeah. Given his stuff. That's the question. I'm not saying it is one way or the other. That's just more of that's the point or the argument for it.
I think speaking of that, I think Greg makes a good point here. Does a star start getting more reps as a creator? He had nice moments, kind of forced it outside of the action late, but he looks so good in that role at times. I think as a star starts to play more minutes, that will help with his like a backup point guard, even if he does have those moments where like he jumps in the air and throws an errant pass. But I thought like just having someone who can get downhill kind of into the paint and kick it out is so helpful because Cade and Ivy kind of feel like they're the only two that can do that. So I think even with Asar, with where his handles at and some of his decision making isn't always the best, like he's someone who will help with that. And I want to
Yeah.
see him get more on ball reps, no matter where this team's at this season, because I think that's crucial for him and the team.
And not let's not forget Bobby Clintman's passing chops we saw in summer league, man. I can't wait to see, So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not saying they need another point guard. I just think there is someone that, and YouTube should sign someone. We already went over this a couple weeks or a couple things ago. Like, go look at who's available right now to sign, and then come back and tell me if that's still an option that you want to. Is Nico Mannion worth it? Let's just So we'll see.
We'll see. Jack, where is your Andre Drummond bubble? I don't have an Andre Drummond one. I don't even know where to get bobbleheads from. I was lucky to get these sent to me by someone. So if anyone's got an Andre one though, I might look into it.
That's funny.
Any other thoughts, Carl, before I let you go, man? We've gone for 90 minutes here, which is awesome considering the game we watched. I think we spent 30 minutes on the regular 30-minute chat on Jalen Duren. He's definitely the player I've spoken the most about this season.
Hey, it's your love of centers, man. Just like Troy Weaver. What can I say? I don't know if I have much more other than this is. I hope you guys appreciate this. This is fun. Don't be shy. Other guys, get up here. Don't just let me. If you think I'm crazy and think I'm stupid for wanting to trade Duren, put your name in the hat, put your face on the camera, and say it with your chest. Let's have a conversation. Because I think it's fun, and this makes watching a average to below average team somewhat enjoyable, is having people to talk with about it and just to get to chop it up. Because at the end of the day, guys, this is not life or death, and I think it's amazing, and I'm so thrilled for Jack that he's making this his day job. And so yeah, it matters. This stuff does matter. But I think it is supposed to be fun. It's a game, right? It's a game, and it's a business, but it's a game. And so just like I say every time, try to enjoy it. The debate is fun, but please don't let your life live and die by this team, because you are going to be disappointed sorely if that's what it is. So
well said. Well said. No, I appreciate you. I think games like tonight in Philly, it's like, man, I don't know how I want to jump on and talk, but when you get someone up here, it honestly is the best. Because now I'm like in a great mood now. Because it's only 3 p.m. here in the afternoon, so I've still got half my day, man. So now I'm in a great mood. Feel like I've got that loss off me now, and we'll be back for Boston tomorrow. But yeah, I appreciate you jumping on, Carl. It means a lot.
Yeah.
Especially
can I plug one more thing?
Go for it.
So this is related, so you guys can tune me out. But I work for an amazing organization, and my wife and I are support-based missionaries. We love Jesus, and we are support-based. And so if you want to know more about our organization, DM me on Instagram or Twitter, whatever, if you're curious about what we do. And we're getting potentially ready to go overseas again sometime soon, and so we could use partners, and we would love to share with what we're doing. I'm not going to spend up a lot of Jack's time, but so if you are curious about that stuff, it's also part of why we had to stop doing our streams before, and I don't do as much content creation because we're serving here in Richmond, Virginia, and potentially overseas in the Middle East. So if you have any curiosity about that or care about that kind of stuff, it is Giving Tuesday, so hit me up and I can share more about that. We're in a push right now to get some more partners. So amazing. That's my main love and my really what I do, but I love getting to do this with you guys too. So if you want to hear more about that, just hit me up on Twitter or Blue Sky, whatever. So
beautiful. And it's at Carl Metz 23 on both platforms.
Yep.
Awesome, dude. Anything else?
No, love you guys. Hope you guys can get some sleep. Enjoy. Everyone breathe. Let's just take a deep breath in, deep breath out. It's gonna be okay. Eventually, they'll be fun again. And just enjoy the ride. You know what it is. So.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kyle. You enjoy the rest of your night, man, and hopefully we'll be back soon.
Of course, always. Peace.
All right, man. Catch ya. Bye. All right, guys. Thank you so much for all the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys as normal. I'm surprised. Like, shout out to YouTube user Theory99, Drake M, Seeing Ink, Greg Burns, Derek Brown, Nuggies, like I appreciate all you guys because I'm surprised how many people jumped in tonight because that was a really, really tough game. Shout out to Brian as well, supporting his guy JD. Yeah, you guys make this show, so I appreciate all you jumping on and continuing the conversation. And I hope, even though you're not up here chatting it, I hope this helps you get over losses like tonight because they are tough. So I appreciate you all hanging around because I'm not sure where you're from, but I'm sure it's late at night. So thank you so much for all your engagement. I really do appreciate it. But until tomorrow, I'm not 100% sure if I can do a stream for the Celtics game. I'm going to try my best. I've just got some things going on my personal life, so I'll see. But otherwise, I'll definitely be back for the Knicks game. So until then, as always, go Pistons.